Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for telling my 15-year-old brother that it's his own fault he's friendless? 22 male. I live at home with my parents. Older cousin, 27F, Teresa, and younger brother, 15 male, Ian. Since he left elementary school, Ian has never managed to keep a friend longer than about a year. Most of his friendships end within 2 months. And this is due to the shitty way Ian treats people. Ian is super demanding. He thinks his friend's world should revolve around him, and gets offended if they aren't dropping everything to hang out, or they can't come to lunch, because they have tutoring quiz makeups. I've seen the way Ian speaks to his friends, and he acts like an outright bully. A recent example was how Ian asked in a group chat who could come to hang out after school. A kid Daryl responded that he had to turn in a paper first, but would be there. Ian responded, "I meant somebody I actually give a damn about." Ian later complained how Daryl was a fat pussy because Daryl had stopped responding to his texts and avoided Ian after that. Most people in Ian's grade don't want to talk to him because of his behavior. Ian insists to our parents that everyone at school is being mean to him, and our parents just completely bought into it. The way he drove away his last friend, a freshman named Kim, was the breaking point for me. Teresa picks up Ian from the library, but Ian had a half day, so I was the only one available. I had to return a book, so I texted Ian that I was here and walked inside. I overheard Ian and Kim near the water fountain. Ian was mad that Kim hung out with her boyfriend instead of him the other night. Ian called Kim a whore and said Kim was ugly and desperate for men's attention. Kim stood up for herself and told Ian real friends don't act this way, and she was done. Ian responded, "Great, bitch. I never wanted to be your friend anyway." I walked back to the car before Ian got there. When he got inside, I confronted him about what just happened. Ian tried to lie, saying he just wanted to stake Kim's friend, but she betrayed and turned her back on him. I called Ian out for his lie and told him I overheard the whole conversation. Ian then started to shit talk about Kim, Daryl, and his other ex-friends, while saying how, if this country weren't just full of snowflakes and stuck-up funnies, I'd be able to find people who deserve my friendship. I was done with Ian and told him it's your own fault you're friendless. Ian, you act like a dick and now are surprised that you're alone. Ian told me I was stupid and didn't know what I was talking about. But luckily, Ian was quiet the rest of the car ride home. The issue is my parents are mad at me for what I said to Ian. They said I was cruel to say Ian was friendless, especially when he's still a child and I'm an adult. Teresa told me that I should have just said nothing and let Ian figure it out on his own. I feel Ian's going to get worse until someone calls him out. But I realize I possibly dropped to Ian's level. Am I the antagonist? Your brother is a blatant bully who required a good kicking for him to change. It's past time for him to start improving himself and face reality. He won't be able to hold a job with that kind of attitude when he's older. Comment by team member Cody. Now for the top comments. NTA. Ian needs a reality check and frankly may need some more intensive help from a trained professional. Ian is still a child and is suffering from a parent problem. Ian scares me a little bit tbh. I fear the kind of adult he will become. Agreed. The anger plus misogyny alone make me wonder and think he needs some serious counseling. NTA. The kid is a dick and a future incel. And his parents have made things worse by excusing this behavior. They need to nip this in the bud now. NTA. And based on your brother's language, you need to start looking into the type of media he's consuming. It's scarily easy for teen boys to get into alt-right movements simply because the YouTube algorithm lets them. He's getting into some extreme stuff, and the kids his age are able to see it and stay away from him. The misogyny is a huge flag for this. If there aren't adults to intervene and get him back on the right track, he could become dangerous. Am I the antagonist for telling my 19 male parents that I'm not below my younger sister, 16F? My parents have always favored my younger sister growing up. Now I admit I've done some bad things as a kid, and that she did better on me on SATs and several app exams. But for the past 7+ years, I've been more responsible and hardworking than her. I still maintained a 4.0 throughout high school and my first year of college. I do all my chores without being nagged, and sometimes even extra chores. Many adults who know me say I'm very respectful and diligent. My sister, however, has a rude attitude. She never does her chores, and usually makes me do them for her. Whenever my parents tell her something, she talks back to them, and gets away with it. All she thinks about is clothes shopping and trying new restaurants, even though she should be focusing on her college applications right now. Anyways, my sister gets a lot more freedom, respect, and trust than me. Like we both have our driver licenses, and she's allowed to drive herself. Even though she's always distracted, I drive very responsibly and cautiously, but I'm rarely allowed to drive. And when I drive, one of my parents accompanies. My parents always lecture me and warn me about stuff like watch what you say in public, don't plagiarize on assignments, etc. Often I feel that they don't trust me, yet they never lecture her about her rude, arrogant behavior. And last year they didn't even let me live on campus. And my parents would fight about whose turn it is to drive me to college, and fight about the gas prices they pay. My sister, in contrast, wants to go to a really expensive college for a useless major, and my parents are okay with sending her there, and they are making me help pay for her education with the money I've saved and my internship money. And they always talk about how I'm wasting my life by studying chemical engineering instead of computer science. And now my sister wants to double major in art and gender studies, and my parents approve of it. This morning, my parents were fighting about me, as usual. I heard them saying stuff like I should switch from chemical E to CS so I can help fund my sister's education, and that I don't talk to my dad even though he has anger and gas issues. They were screaming at each other, and my dad was even crying. I went up to them and said that I will stay in chemical E because I prefer chemistry over coding. I also pointed out that I'm not physically around my dad much even at home, and that it's hard to talk to him because he's unforgiving to me. And then I said that it's unfair they expect me to help pay for my sister's education, even though she's the one wasting her life, and they are refusing to pay for my campus housing. I stated that I'm not below her, and that they should treat us equally. I told them that they make me feel like a failure and a burden even though I'm not. When I said that, my parents suddenly accused me of lying and calling them bad parents. NTA, parents expect a 19-year-old to help pay for a 16-year-old while attending college on their own. Parents are unfair and treat siblings unequally. They're upset about having to hear about all the poor choices they've made. Comment by team member Cody. Now for the top comments. NTA, make sure they cannot access your money. Get your important documents together. Make your arrangements to live on campus. Do not pay anything for your sister's education. Go low contact. Please listen to this comment. Do not waste your life trying to buy their love or appreciation, as it will never arrive. Keep your money and spend it on yourself, education, living, etc. You will never be able to gain their acceptance and love, so please love for yourself. NTA. I don't know why some parents do this, but they do. Getting them to admit it. Good luck. You're 19, and you have a plan. You'll be out soon. Never let them talk you into changing to CS, and never agree to pay for your sister. Not your monkey, not your circus. Edit. Whoops, got the ages switched around. NTA. You called them bad parents because they are bad parents. I've never heard of parents expecting child 1 in college already to contribute to child 2, irrespective of major and all else. I advise you to work out a plan to get through college without your parents' financial help. Then take whatever they give. These current conflicts will not matter if you get the degree and career of your choice. Best of luck. NTA, you told them the truth, and honestly, they need more of a tongue lashing than you gave. Do not give these people a dime. Do not let them bully you into paying for your sister or anything. Hide your money and stand your ground. Get other family involved if you must be. See, they are not being fair. Am I the antagonist for including my dad's outside children in my wedding? I'm 28F. I'm one of 6 children my parents share. I was 14 when I learned my father had outside children who at the time were 13 and 16. It rocked our family to the core, and my mother, who was pregnant at the time, miscarried. For years my mother struggled with my father's infidelity. Upon learning about my other brother and sister, we learned that my father had them living less than 10 minutes away from where we were raised. My sister was my classmate, and I had no clue of our connection. My father was basically living a double life, and the only reason his secret came to light was because their mother passed. They came to live with us, and it was a major shift. My mother couldn't handle it, so she gave my father a choice, her or his kids, which I felt was unfair. Anyhow, they were sent to live with their maternal grandparents. My parents went to counseling. My mother often wanted them excluded from family events, vacations, birthdays, and most of the time she got her way. My mother has continuously treated my siblings like they have the plague any time they've been around, and unfortunately some of my siblings are the same. I understand my mother's grief, which is why I've kept my relationship with them out of conversations. In my parents' house, they aren't spoken on. Not saying they aren't allowed at my parents' home, but my mother has made them that uncomfortable that they don't even come over. My father visits them though. My sister now resides in the home my father had bought for their mother, which my mother still fumes over. I'm close to my brother and sister, like I'm with the rest of my siblings. While some of my siblings have come around being cordial, I'm the only that truly has a genuine relationship with them. I'm due to get married next year. My hubby-to-be is very good friends with my brother, so of course he's a groomsman and my sister is a bridesmaid. Once I told my mother, which was in a heartfelt discussion about me wanting the people I love in my wedding. She insisted I kick them out of my wedding, or she would pull the financial strings on it. I told her, just like I love her, I love them as well, and that I wished she could put her differences aside for me, that this was my brother and sister. They've never done anything to her. If she can't accept them, then I didn't need her energy in my wedding. So, yes, she pulled the financial plug on paying for the wedding. It was being split half and half between my family and my fiance's. I make decent, so I had no problem paying for my portion. She's now crying to the rest of my family about how I betrayed her and kicked her out of my wedding. Although I understand how sad she is, you didn't just kick her out of nowhere. She was severely wounded and betrayed by your father. She has been damaged by her subsequent failure to deal with her own trauma, which she is now trying to vent on you. Here, she caused harm to herself. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. NTA. I have a hard time calling your mom the R, but she should not give you ultimatums regarding your relationship with your siblings. Your dad is the biggest R here, of course. I mean, she forgave the cheater and keeps punishing his children, who are even bigger victims of the situation. That does make her R. Did she forgive him, or was staying with him because with 6 kids she had no other viable options? Considering the revelation caused her to miscarry her own child, can't blame her for resenting the affair children, innocent though they are. NTA. You and your siblings did absolutely nothing wrong. It's not their fault your dad cheated and they were born. And it's not your fault that you feel a connection to them because they share literally half of your DNA. It is your wedding, and you are allowed to have whoever you want there. I understand your mother's pain just from seeing them, but if that pain will outweigh her happiness at her child's wedding, then she doesn't need to be at the wedding. NTA. The only R in the whole story is your dad. You're well within your rights to have a relationship with any family member you want and invite them to your wedding. Your mom shouldn't have to deal with someone else putting a timeline on how long it takes her to get over an affair that lasted at least 16 years. His other kids are not hers, and she has no obligation to consider them family, ever. But, your dad waving his dick around town to the point that you were in class with an actual sibling and didn't even know you were related. That's some next level ashlery. Am I the antagonist for blaming my dad for my engagement party being ruined and saying I hated him? I found out a year ago that my dad has had multiple mistresses his entire marriage and has at least 2 suspected children that he doesn't acknowledge. My mum has known all along, but it was a huge shock for myself and my siblings. My dad has worked very hard to earn back our trust, so we chose to forgive him and try to get back to normal. It was my engagement party 2 weeks ago. Everything was perfect until my suspected half-sisters turned up to confront my dad in front of everybody. It was one of the most humiliating things that's ever happened to me, and I was so angry and upset that they would choose my engagement party to do this. My fiance's uncle had them kicked out, but the damage was already done. I wanted to cry so badly, so my fiance took me into a room away from everybody else so I could calm down. My parents and in-laws came to check up on me, and I just lost control and started yelling at my dad. I told him it was his fault my engagement party was ruined, and I said I hated him. Everybody tried to get me to calm down, and my mum said I was being unfair. I haven't spoken to my dad since, even though he keeps apologizing for what happened. My siblings have told me it wasn't his fault, so I shouldn't have yelled at him the way I did, and I should blame the girls for crashing my party instead. Am I the antagonist? I completely understand your outrage, and I know how I would feel if I were in your shoes. However, I believe that your rumored step-sibling should take responsibility for this. They must have known the consequences of making a scene for you, and no, they didn't need to confront him at your engagement party. In this case, you are an innocent victim. Comment by team member Corey. Now for the top comments. Info: how did these people even know about the party? I think they found out from looking at our social media accounts. I think they knew what the effect would be. It was done to hurt your father through you. You may want to have security at the wedding to keep gate crashers at bay. I will. Your parents sound like massive assholes. He doesn't pay for kids he made and has left 2 women without a father. He needs to make amends for the lives he's ruined. Clearly, there are some very hurt feelings for them to go that far. NTA. Of course you are angry that your dad created this situation with unacknowledged kids. His shit got all over your special day, and it makes perfect sense that you are angry at him for it. I don't get how Op's father thought ignoring his kids would make them disappear. It was only a matter of time before things boiled over. Op's family was the one he decided to keep, which meant there were many children and families he was abandoning that were bound to be angry about it. Am I the antagonist for not warning my sisters to change their outfits before going out, resulting in them getting unwanted attention from guys? This happened over the weekend and I didn't think I was the asshole. But now that it's been a couple of days and both my sisters are still mad at me, I'm not sure anymore. I'm 26F and I have 2 younger twin sisters that are 19F. They have always been weird twins and have kept themselves pretty sheltered. They don't date. They don't really have any friends except for each other. They still live at home with our parents and have shown no interest in going to uni or anything like that. They do have jobs, but in pretty much every other way they act a lot younger than 19. So it was a big surprise when they asked to come visit me this weekend. I live in a city a few hours away from a hometown and said they wanted to go out to a bar for the first time. I took this as their way of telling me that they wanted to grow up a little, especially after they got here, and I saw the clothes they were putting on to go to the bar. These were the skimpiest outfits that I've ever seen them wear. Miniskirts and tube tops. But I thought they both looked really good, and I assumed they had chosen those outfits purposefully to get attention. I don't mean that as an insult. I thought good for them. We went out to the bar, and predictably a lot of guys immediately started flirting with my sisters and offering to buy them drinks. They did not like the attention at all, and after one guy made a dumb comment about them being twins, they got very upset and asked me if we could leave. I said sure, and asked if they wanted to go to a different bar nearby. They asked if we could just go home. I said we could go home if they really wanted to, but that maybe they should just change their outfits and then we could go back out. They asked why I let them go out dressed that way if I thought their outfits were the reason guys were being so shitty. I said that I thought they wanted guys to talk to them and dressed like that on purpose. They got offended and said that obviously they were just trying to look cute and that I should warn them that they overdid it. We went home and they didn't really talk to me much the rest of the night. Then they left the next morning and they are still upset with me for ruining their first time going out to a bar. So am I the antagonist for not explaining to my sisters that their outfits were going to get them a lot of male attention? I assumed it was obvious. But maybe that was stupid, because I know how sheltered they are. How insulated are they if they have no idea what patrons at a bar look like? Let your sisters be, please. They aren't tar either. They are simply misdirecting their rage towards you, rather than against the guys, who really need to learn proper behavior. Comment by team member Shannon. Now for the top comments. NTA. If they weren't sure of what to wear, they ought to have asked you if what they picked out was appropriate, especially since it was their first time going out. You'd think they'd want to check with someone more knowledgeable. There will always be some shitty guys trying to pick them up, no matter what they wear. Men shouldn't assume how open the girl is based on the outfit, but they usually do, so it gets even worse. This was a good lesson for them, since the sister was there to watch over them. NTA. By sheltered do you mean never heard of boys? I'd assume, like you did, that at 19 they can dress themselves. Lol. And apparently never watched TV. TV might have been part of the problem, given that lots of media over-sexualize women and equate skimpy clothing with hotness. Unless you have some social context, it's easy to think all attractive women at bars wear skimpy clothes. There's nothing wrong with being willing to rock a crop top and a micro mini. But since they have little experience dealing with creepy stares / come-ons, I'm sure it was a bit traumatic. Still not the a-hole, because it's not like Op set them up by suggesting the clothes or misleading them if they asked for advice. She just assumed that they knew what they were doing. Am I the antagonist for being mad my ex won't let me in his house anymore? I know how the title sounds, but just hear me out. I, 27F, have a 6-year-old daughter with my ex-BF Landon, 28 male. Me and Landon broke up due to Landon coming out as gay, but anyways over the past 5 years, since we've broken up he has been on and off with multiple guys. Not that it is any of my business, but I do just wish Landon would settle down with a nice guy. Me and Landon have shared custody, so we have alternating custody with Amelia, fake name. We had a perfect arrangement where we visit Amelia at each other's house and then spend time together with her, which Amelia loved. I always came to his place when he knew I was coming, so no problem with me showing up unannounced. Landon got into a new relationship with his BF Gabe, 29 male, 6 months ago, and Gabe is just ruining everything we had. Landon seems to think it's just Gabe setting boundaries, but it's Gabe trying to ruin our perfect arrangements that we had with Amelia, and it's making Amelia sad as well. I never brung it up, but she brung up the fact she was sad about this. I was supposed to come over to Landon's house to see Amelia, but Landon didn't want me to come over just because it would make Gabe uncomfortable if I turned up at Landon's house, even though Gabe doesn't even live with Landon. How does me visiting my daughter during the week I don't have her make Gabe uncomfortable? Question mark? But it's Landon's house, so I didn't go to his house, but I did make it clear that I didn't like this. Also, it's just 2 or sometimes 3 days out of the whole week, but this week was only going to be 2 days, though now it's only 1. We made this arrangement because we think Amelia is too young to go a whole week without one of her parents, which is why we made this. Though now he is thinking about stopping it because it makes Gabe uncomfortable. Landon ended up telling me that I should stop coming over permanently because it makes Gabe uncomfortable. He knows how Amelia would feel about this, but he doesn't care since it would make Gabe uncomfortable. I ended up asking Landon how Amelia felt about this, and he told me Amelia was crying because she wanted to see me, but also said that Amelia would soon get over it and then understand it is for the best. I left it off with calling him an idiot, but now I'm wondering if I'm tar, since it is completely his house. So am I the antagonist? While co-parenting is wonderful, you must also give one another room to develop as people. It's time to review your child's custody arrangement and set a regular schedule for him or her. Make the move as simple for Amelia as you can, since if you battle Landon, he may forbid you from entering his home. Comment by team member Charlie. Now for the top comments. Info. Does Landon come to your house during your time with Amelia? Yes. I'm very gentle with this. My own parents divorced too, but overall, everyone sucks here. Gabe and Landon suck because their boundaries are too strict. and too strong. You also carry some of the blame because you need to recognize that your previous arrangement is not really compatible with Landon and Gabe moving forward with their lives together. The idea of having such an amicable breakup that you can co-parent like this is great. It genuinely is. But at some point, you showing up twice a week at Landon's place starts to make you a bit of a third wheel in his life with another partner, and it's not sustainable forever. It would be a bit suffocating having your partner's ex rock up twice every second week. I know that Amelia loves spending time with both of you together, but the reality is that you're not a nuclear family unit anymore, and that's okay. She'll get used to having week on, week off. I think this comment, combined with comment from former family attorney, are on point. Taken together, I think it's a good thing to see things from the point of view that ex-Landon needs to have some boundaries to accommodate a new relationship. Nonetheless, Amelia's needs must come first, and so if there are new boundaries, Op and Landon need to negotiate them as co-parents and come together on consistent messaging and routine for little Amelia. Face the change together. Landon has to also negotiate compromise with his new partner, and if that partner cannot compromise for the benefit of the child whose life he is entering, he is probably not mature or secure enough to be a proper partner to Landon, and hopefully Landon would see this with some time. You have a very positive situation overall, and kudos to you both for being good co-parents. Try not to do anything that damages the relationship if there's space and heart for a negotiation. All relationships are painful and change. If you can navigate this, it bodes well for the future and for Amelia. Fortitude Op.